Yo, what's up? My name is Petrowski, and today I'm going to be answering a question that I've gotten a ton, and it is about what are the best regions in PokeMMO, and what regions should I start on in PokeMMO, and what regions should I complete first. So I spent a long time creating a huge PowerPoint for you guys today, going over the positives and negatives of each region, so we're going to go ahead and get into that now and answer that question for you guys today. Alright, I spent a long time on this, so I hope you guys can support it and appreciate it and go ahead and like and subscribe to the video if you find it helpful. But let's go ahead and get into it with Kanto. So Kanto is the first region we're going to be talking about. We're just going to be going in sequential order. Some of the positives to Kanto is that it has the best early game moneymaker. In the Safari Zone, you access the Safari Zone around gym badge number 4 or 5. And you can go there to catch breeders for a lot cheaper. The reason it's a really good moneymaker is because you're paying 500 Pokeyen for 30 Safari Balls on top, aside from 200 Pokeyen for one Pokeball. So there's a huge price difference in terms of the amount of money you're paying per Pokeball. And it's a lot cheaper to catch breeders and catch Pokemon that are 1x31 and sell them on the GTL. There's a lot more room for profit there. It also has some pretty solid EV trading spots for each stat. You have a really good defense trading spot, some really good speed spots once you unlock these Sevi Islands. And other stuff, etc., etc. Also has some decent leveling spots. I think it has some Tentacruel spots on the islands, and then also has that similar defense EV spot with Sandslash and Marowak. But you need to at least be at the Elite 4 for that. And then you also have access to Vermilion, which is kind of the social hub city of PokeMMO. And it's always been like the kind of main city, or hasn't always been. It actually used to be Viridian, but now it is Vermilion because the boat is there. You can go there and transfer between other regions from Vermilion City. There's just a lot going on there. People socialize there. It's the most popular town in the game. There's also a Larvitar wild spawn. Kanto is the only region with a Larvitar wild spawn. I think it's on Island 7. Like Savalt Canyon. So that's an important thing if you care about Larvitar. If you want to catch wild Larvitar, you need Kanto to do so. You could go ahead and buy them off the GTL if you want, but it's just nice to have that wild spawn option. In Kanto, you also get access to the Mushroom Maniac, which is an important move relearner kind of capability in PokeMMO. So usually you have to go to a kind of funny-haired NPC in each region of PokeMMO to relearn certain moves, but at the Mushroom Maniac, it's actually cheaper. You can trade him like, let's say 2 big mushrooms to relearn certain moves, and they cost around 6k, as opposed to at other move relearners, it's going to cost you a bunch of heart scales, which are 5k each. So it's going to be really expensive. So it's a lot cheaper to have access to the Mushroom Maniac, and a lot easier, in my opinion. You're also going to have access to the best amulet coin farming spots, which I think is on Island 1 right now. You can hoard Meowth there and do some amulet coin farming if you have the right access and the right Pokemon setup for that. So that's all the main positives. There are other ones that I haven't covered, but those are the main important ones. Alright, and now on to the negatives of Kanto. So one of the biggest things, and you heard me talk about it a little bit during the positives, is a lot of late game content and a lot of really the great benefits of Kanto aren't unlocked until post game. And what I mean by that is they aren't unlocked until like post the Elite 4, or once you're after the Elite 4, or once you unlock the Sevi Islands. The Sevi Islands is kind of like a post game quest line in Fire Red and in Kanto, and it's a really important piece of content. It has a bunch of EV spots, leveling spots, it has the Larvitar spawn. A lot of the great content and a lot of the benefits to Kanto are on the Sevi Islands, so it can be a little frustrating not being able to access that content until post-game. Bulbasaur is also going to have a really hard time nowadays in this kind of meta, in these current gym battles, especially because Erica and Koga have so many 4x resist Pokemon, dude. Erica's going to have Victreebel and Vileplume and a lot of like poison grass Pokemon, which are going to have 4x resists to Bulbasaur. Usually it's not as hard. Usually they just have like some 2x resist, but that 4x resists really makes it a lot more difficult. Koga also has Crobat, which is poison flying, which is going to have 4x resist to grass, which is really difficult. So if you're a big Bulbasaur fan, and if you plan to pick Bulbasaur, you're going to have a pretty hard time, honestly. It's probably the most difficult starter to pick in this region, in my opinion, and maybe one of the most difficult starters to pick out of any region right now, which is crazy because I feel like Bulbasaur used to be one of the better picks, but unfortunate changes have been made for the poor little flower fella. There's also a ton of long dungeons throughout the storyline. And what I mean by that is kind of like going through complicated puzzles and like strains. Obviously, you can look up guides for the puzzles, making it a lot easier, but they still take a lot of time, and you still have to like follow the guide properly. Things like clearing out the Rocket Casino hideout, clearing out Silphco, going through Rock Tunnel, Mount Moon, Pokemon Mansion. There's so many dungeons in this game, like Lavender Tower on top of all those, although it's obviously a more like one-dimensional, pretty quick one. There's just so many areas where you have to go through and clear out a ton of trainers while also traveling through this long-term dungeon. You also can't breed until post-game, which I think this is the only region where that is the case, which is maybe the main, probably the biggest negative or the biggest downfall of Kanto. You don't get access to a breeding daycare until Island 4, which is part of the Sevi Islands, which is definitely one of the hardest parts. You can access like the normal daycare below Cerulean City, but you actually can't breed there. You can only level up Pokemon there, and breeding is, the most important part of going to a daycare. So that's definitely the biggest negative of Kanto is you can't breed until you unlock Island 4. All right, but that's enough about Kanto. On to Hoenn. Make sure you stay until the very end, and I'll give you guys my personal power rankings for each region, like listed from most powerful to least powerful. You can also just skip there. There'll be timestamps in the description if you want. If you want to just skip all this, skip all the positives and negatives, and just see the objective list, go ahead and skip to that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into Hoenn positives. So there's actually 2 starter wild spawns in Hoenn, and basically what that means is usually each region has the wild spawns for all of their starters in that region. So for example, Kanto has Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. Unova has Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott. But Hoenn is special because there's no Johto map in the game. There's no Johto storyline in the game. So both the Hoenn and Johto starters can be found in Hoenn. So if you really care about getting as many starters as possible, that's going to be a really important feature and a really nice part of Hoenn. It's important to consider. Hoenn also has some pretty great EV training spots, maybe some of the best. Maybe I think it's the second best behind Unova. But you're going to have the Tentacruel special defense spot at Battle Frontier, which is also one of the best leveling spots in the game, which is the next positive point. You're going to have access to Gloom near Fortree City, which is the best special attack spot in the game. You're going to have access to Hariyama once you're like post E4, which is a great HP spot. A lot of great leveling spots here, a lot of great EV training spots. You're also going to have access to Battle Tower, which is pretty unique to this region and this part of the game. So you're going to be able to spend your BP on things and on choice bands, on items, on special move tutors for your Pokemon. So that alone makes Hoenn pretty dang valuable. You're also going to have access to Smeargle Cave. Smeargle Cave is really good for a lot of reasons. Smeargle Cave is a really good place to shiny hunt, for utility Smeargle. It's a very good place to payday. Very, very good place to payday because Smeargle is a pretty high-level Pokemon in that cave, like around 40 to 50. But it also has very low stats because it's Smeargle. So it's going to be very easy to KO. Smeargle Cave is also very good for teaching your own Smeargle utility moves and kind of sketching moves onto your own Smeargle, so it's very important for that. It's like the best method, in my opinion, for that, although you can get around that by doing doubles battles, but I like using Smeargle Cave. It's the easiest, in my opinion. Smeargle Cave is also really good for, there's something else. Just catching Smeargle. Yeah, just farming Smeargle, catching some good utility Smeargle, and then selling them, making some profits. Smeargle Cave is really, really, really good. It has a ton of use and a ton of flexibility. There's also the only 5x Magikarp spot in the game in Hoenn. It's in Sootopolis City. If you surf there, you can actually hoard and Sweet Send and find 5x Magikarp, which is, so if you really, really want a shiny Magikarp, this is the best region to do so, which is a really highly wanted shiny a lot of the time, so it's pretty important to consider. Hoenn also has the best Ditto farming spot in the game. I think it's in Lava Ridge Town or something. It's the town up right here, up here in this like top corner, left corner of the map. You go into like this little like weird house and then travel through there, and you get to a cave and you can catch. It's like a 40% encounter rate to find Ditto, which is really, really high, especially compared to back in the day. It might be 60%. I'm not sure. There's a very good chance to catch Ditto, so by far the best Ditto spot in the game. Alright, but a ton of positives about Hoenn. Let's go ahead and get into the negatives. So, Hoenn, in my opinion, has maybe the most annoying storyline and also one of the longest storylines in the game. There's also a ton of water paths, a lot of really confusing water paths you have to travel, and you're going to get so many Tentacruel encounters. It's a huge pain. The encounter rate on water always feels so much higher than in grass, so I definitely recommend buying a ton of repels, super repels specifically, if doing the storyline. If you didn't know, super repels are actually the most efficient Pokeyen per steps repel, so that's really important to keep in mind. Hoenn also has some pretty hard gyms. They're going to have things like slacking, which slacking can be played around pretty easily with like protect or leading or like swapping in a sacrifice swap or sacrificing a Pokemon to him to kind of waste his turn and then abuse him during his Truant turn, but it's still a huge pain. You have to like prepare for it ahead of time and like know about it. There's a lot of really hard and difficult gyms in Hoenn for sure. There's not many good gym rebattles post game, so I only do 4 gym rebattles in this game. A lot of the gyms just have either annoying puzzles or are fire type gyms, which are annoying, or have like flash fire Pokemon, which can be annoying for the Typhlosion strategy. There's also not that many 5x hordes for shiny hunting, in my opinion. This is definitely an opinionated case. If there's 5x Pokemon that you love and really care about in this location, maybe you really love like Mightyena and you really want to shiny hunt for Mightyena, or like Hariyama, maybe you love those Pokemon. Like super fair. This is just my opinion on that one. It's totally opinionated, so it's important to keep that in mind. It does have pretty good 3x spots though. It has like a spot that's I think Lotad, Nuzleaf, or Seedot. It's like Lotad, Nuzleaf / Seedot, and Zangoose like all in one spot. So like, those are all like pretty dang good shinies, at least in my opinion, all in one good spot. So I was mostly just trying to find more negatives for Hoenn, but I just honestly couldn't find more than 3. This was kind of just a stretch, to be honest. Hoenn's just a really good region. Whew. All right, on to Sinnoh. So Sinnoh is, I'm just going to say it, Sinnoh is the worst region by far, in my opinion, mostly because Sinnoh was the last region to be added, so there just wasn't a whole lot of content to be added, and it wasn't a whole lot of like things to be made better than, I guess. But there are some positives. Let's go ahead and cover them. Sinnoh has a ton of unique spawns. We'll get into that in a second. But Sinnoh has the resort area, which you can catch really high level Magikarp, like level 75 plus Magikarp by Super Rada. I think you can actually catch from anywhere between level 1 and level 99 Magikarp there, which is really interesting. I think it's one of the most interesting mechanics in the game, to be fair. But you can easily just catch like a level 75 Magikarp for like really easily with the utility Smeargle, like really easily, and just sell it for like 15k or 10k depending on what the market is. It's really easy money making, and it's really surprisingly decent. It's really nice. There's also a Rotom spawn. Rotom is a really important spawn just because Rotom is literally played and really relevant and really important in every single tier of PvP in PokeMMO right now. Rotom Wash and I believe Rotom Mo, like the grass one, are both really good in OU right now, especially Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash defined a ton of Pokemon PvP throughout the main games. Rotom itself, like Rotom's base form, is really good in NU. It's a very good trick like user leader, and then also has access to Defog. It can go like Will-O-Wisp and Hex. It's a really annoying, really powerful Pokemon. It can also go Volt Switch, of course. Very powerful. Rotom Fire, the Rotom Fire one, is also used in UU, I believe, but I'm not super experienced on UU, but I know it is in that tier. Honey trees are a really interesting and unique mechanic to Sinnoh. So there's a thing called honey trees in Sinnoh, which is basically trees located all across and all over the game, where you're going to slather honey, which is an item that you can buy for 1k from an NPC. You're going to slather honey on these trees, and you can encounter very niche, specific, and rare Pokemon there. Things like Combee, things like Burmy. There's like all these Pokemon that are like, you can only be encountered through that tree. So it's very like rare for like shiny hunting. Things like Cherubi. Cherubi is another good one. I love Cherubi, and I would love to get a shiny Cherubi one day. So if you want a really rare shiny and you have a ton of patience and a ton of money to spend, honey trees is a really interesting thing. You also can make money off of honey trees, kind of like slightly, by either catching the Pokemon and getting lucky on IVs, or I think like if you sell like any Combee, like any random Combee, I think they sell for like 5k each. Burmies might sell for a little bit. Cherubies might sell for like 3k to 5k. Depends on the market, of course, but it can be a moneymaker if you get lucky on spawns. But I just really like honey trees. They're really interesting in mechanic. But the main reason, the best benefit and the best positive for Sinnoh is that it just has so many unique rare spawns that are only found within the region. I mentioned Rotom earlier, which is probably the most important one. But there's also things like Chimchar. Infernape is a huge OU threat and huge OU importance. Spiritomb is a huge NU importance and a really strong NU Pokemon. Gible evolves into Garchomp. Garchomp's the most powerful Pokemon in OU right now and has been for a very long time. Scorpy evolves into Drapion. Drapion's been a pretty important, at least relevant NU part of a NU meta. Really strong Pokemon. Really every single Pokemon there is very useful in many tiers of PvP, and very important. But you also can just buy them if you play another region. So it's kind of, if you want to farm them yourself, they're pretty good. But Sinnoh's a tough one. Okay, now Sinnoh has a ton of really harsh negatives. Sinnoh has the worst EV spots in the game, the worst leveling spots, except for it does have a gold duck spot, which is pretty nice once you reach post game. That's like the only one I can think of. There is a gold duck spot near, like in the resort area, the same place you catch Magikarp. That's a pretty good spot, but that's about it. And then the pickup mechanic doesn't work. So if you payday in Sinnoh, you're just going to be making less money. There's also not many good payday spots in Sinnoh. It's just, I should have put that down. Sinnoh is just the worst region by far. It's really cool and it's important to complete. You can catch specific Pokemon here, but I definitely recommend it being the last region you kind of work your way and get around to. Whew. All right, and now on to Unova. You might have been able to notice by the sheer things I've listed in positives, Unova is a really good region. Hint, spoiler alert, maybe the best. Unova is going to have the best EV spots, the most amount of EV spots. It's also going to have really high-level EV spots. It's going to have a great... Dude, Unova's great. Has a great HP spot with Stunfist. Has a great special defense spot with Mantine. Has a great defense spot with Pelipper, which both of those are in the same city. Has a great attack spot with Bouffalant. Great special attack with Heatmore. Great speed with the best speed spot with Rapidash. Really, like, the best stats. I think 3 or 4. I think 4. It's either 3 or 4. 3 or 4 out of the 6 best EV spots in the game, like one for each stat, are in Unova. So the best EV spots, great leveling spots, really nice leveling spots. You're gonna have access to Pelipper. Pelipper is one of the best leveling spots. Plus, you can discharge Pelipper, which is really nice. So you don't need a level 100 Pokemon, since they're 4 times weak to that electric AOE move. You can use like a level 50 Jolteon with discharge and level your Pokemon instead of needing a level 100 Pokemon with like Surf or something. Unova also has the best gym rebattles. There's just so many good gyms to rebattle here. I think I literally run through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their gyms, which is like most, more than any other region that I do. On top of it's technically 7. Because you actually do 2 in the first city, or 2 to 3 if you want. The first city, the first gym in the game has actually 3 gym leaders because there's one for each type. There's a grass gym leader, a fire gym leader, and a water gym leader. So I usually do the water and the grass, and then I dodge the fire because they have flash fire Pokemon. I use the Typhlosion strategy, etc. That's another video. Unova, you also have access to Moxie Pokemon. So you're going to have access to Scrafty and Crocodile. And in my opinion, Moxie Pokemon are the best Pokemon in the entire game to beat you through the story. They're so powerful. For those who don't know, Moxie is an ability that once you defeat a Pokemon with that Pokemon, if that makes sense. So if you feint another Pokemon with that Pokemon, that Pokemon's attack stat will be raised by 1 stage. And for those who don't know, raising your stats by 1 stage in Pokemon is very substantial. It means a lot of stats. It's very important. It's very underrated during the PVM kind of storyline scene. Unova also has an incredible payday spot. The incredible payday spot is also the best Dratini farming spot. So those kind of intertwine where you can either just farm Dratini if you want to just catch Dratini, or you can try to hunt for shiny Dratini. It's also the best shiny Dratini hunting spot in the game. On top of being a great payday spot, really incredible. For those who don't know about it, it's north of Icarus City, I believe. I have a video on it. I'll try to remember to link in the description below. There's also a ton of great 5 times shiny spots in Unova. I forgot to list them all, but there's Druddigon, Mienfoo, I think Axew is also... I don't think Axew is a 5-time spot, but Axew is a horde spot in Unova. There's also... What else? There's a Stunfist spot if you like Stunfist, but I think that's just me. I don't know if everyone else is into Stunfist as much as I am, so I'll let that one pass. But there's also the mall. So the mall is actually on this strip of land between the top middle city and then Icarus City, so this little like bridge part. there's a mall there, and you can buy any TM in the game there, which is really, really important. People will often buy a bunch of different TMs there and then upcharge them and put them on the GTL for like 1 or 2K more than they actually cost. But if you have access to Unova, you don't have to pay that 1 to 2K upcharge. You can just go ahead and travel to Unova really quickly and go buy them. Or you could buy those TMs yourself and upcharge them and make a really, really small amount of passive income if you have the capital to which to buy those TMs in the first place. So, I don't know, pretty cool stuff. Pretty nice. So many benefits. You also have Cynthia and Morimoto battles for Pokeyen. For those who don't know, Cynthia and Morimoto are kind of more difficult, complicated, late game, high level NPCs that you can battle and earn 15k Pokeyen each. That's more than a gym leader battle. So that's like a lot of Pokeyen. I think gym leaders give you around 13k each. Cynthia and Morimoto give you 15k each. And if you have Amulet Coin active, it becomes like 30k or 36k. It's a ton of Pokeyen for one NPC battle. Although they can be kind of difficult to defeat sometimes. It's just so much Pokeyen. So it's a really important thing to note and not pass up on. Alright, now on to the Unova negatives. Only 3 I could think about and really list. It has a pretty difficult and slowest early game since the first gym is going to hard counter you. Let's say you pick the water type starter Oshawott, the first gym is always going to be grass. If you pick Tepig, the first gym is always going to be water, etc., etc. They're always going to hard counter you and make you face the worst gym leader you possibly could. So it's pretty difficult. You do have to kind of over level to kind of get past that kind of first gym area. You also have to pass through a couple towns to get there. So kind of a slow early game in my opinion. It also is a pretty hard late game. You end up fighting, I think there's an ice gym, a dragon gym, and then the flying gym is also pretty hard. I think the last like 3 gyms of the game are quite difficult in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think they were very difficult for me. I think they're very difficult. It's important to at least keep that in mind. So hard early game, difficult late game story, and then some of the EV spots and leveling spots are post game. Again, one of the biggest negatives that Kanto had was that you don't really unlock a lot of the content, a lot of the benefits until like post that one storyline. But if you're gonna at least complete one storyline, it's best to get one with the most benefits. So I think all the benefits far overshadow that with Unova's negatives for sure. So, but just important to note. All right, now on to the overall ranking. So you might have been able to tell by my tone of voice throughout the video, but number 1 is definitely going to be Unova. There's just so many positives. Really, really incredible region. Incredible. Number 2 is kind of a toss-up. I think it could be close between Hoenn and Kanto. Personally, I love Kanto, and I'm always going to play Kanto like first. But in terms of objective rankings and in terms of usage, I go ahead and go Hoenn. Hoenn's really, really nice, really good EV spots. Really incredible region with a bit of all the downsides for Hoenn are just like during the storyline. The storyline's pretty difficult, but once that's conquered, you're gonna have a huge payoff. Kanto is the third one. Unfortunately, Kanto is the oldest region in the game, so it just kind of got power crept a little bit, although it's still an incredible region. And whenever I play PokeMMO, I personally go Kanto because it's just the most fun for me. If I ever like make a new character, I always start with Kanto personally, but this is a rankings of like what's the most efficient. So just important to keep that in mind. If you do enjoy a certain region, please go it. Don't sacrifice efficiency for that kind of happiness unless you enjoy the efficiency. If the efficiency makes you happy, go that. Basically, play however you want to play, whatever makes you happy. But then ranking number 4 is going to be Sinnoh, the least important region, the least helpful. Sinnoh's main draw are definitely the unique spawns. You can only really hunt certain Pokemon or do certain things in Sinnoh. But yeah, Sinnoh is definitely rough, and it's not really its fault. It's just really, it got added super late, and the devs didn't want to power creep too much more. And yeah, it just has a rough time. Sinnoh's just having a tough time, but that's okay. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really liked this video. I spent a lot of time on this PowerPoint and a lot of time thinking this over. I got requested this so many times, so I wanted to put a lot of effort into this. But go ahead and show support for the effort if you really liked it and it was helpful to you. Like this video if you liked it. Dislike it if you didn't. Leave comments, questions, concerns, and criticisms in the comments below. If you want to point out other positives or other negatives for the regions, I'm sure I missed a ton. Go ahead and list them in the comments below. Politely, please, though. I would appreciate it. Subscribe for more PokeMMO content. That's the best way to show support, is to subscribe. Also, ring the bell for notifications notifications for any new PokeMMO uploads, events, PvP guides, anything PokeMMO related. Go ahead and ask for it and get it here by subscribing and ringing the bell for notifications. Also, join the Discord linked below under social medias. There's a lot of really cool people there. I've had the privilege and the benefit and the fortune of getting to know so many cool PokeMMO players and people who just really, really care about this game. So go ahead and hang out there if you want to meet some cool people. But anyways, thank you guys so much. I hope you're having an incredible day. Thank you again. I really hope this was helpful and worth your time. Have a good one. Peace and love from Petrowski.